Before you come calling me names in the comments, please watch the video until the end and hear what I have to say. Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're fine. Today we're going to talk a little about the things that weren't explained and that don't make sense in Demon Slayer. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm the Monio, the interdimensional demon that talks most about Demon Slayer in the YouTube, and you're on my channel. This video will be divided into topics, so let's start talking about Yorichi's training dummy. Yorichi Type 0. A big plot hole in Demon Slayer is the fact that no one has connected Tanjiro with Yorichi. But the Monio, Yorichi lived many centuries ago. It's normal that nobody knows who he is, and nothing about him, like his name and appearance, right? And I answer you, wrong. In the Swordsmith Village arc, we discover that there is a training dummy that the Hashiras use, which is called Yorichi Type 0, and that not only imitates Yorichi's movements, but also has his exact same appearance. The dummy even has the earrings of the Tanjiro's family. And I ask you, how did no one notice this? How come none of the Hashiras looked at Tanjiro and noticed that he had the same earrings that the doll has? How has no one noticed that Tanjiro has a mark on his forehead in the same place as Yorichi? But the Monio, that wasn't a mark, but a scar from a burn. No, this is a burn scar. And that was clearly something else. In the scene where the Tanjiro meets all the Hashiras, at least one of the Hashiras should have noticed that Tanjiro had some relationship with Yorichi. But the Monio, Stone Hashira, is blind, and so is Kagaya Ubuyashiki, so they had no way of knowing. And I answer you, yes, but what about the other Hashiras? Someone should have noticed, because Tanjiro caught the attention of everyone in the Demon Slayer Corp, because he is a demon slayer who walks with a demon, and because he was the first person in that era to meet Muzan, so everyone was paying attention to Tanjiro, but absolutely no one noticed. Nezuko. Nezuko is perhaps the character that best synthesizes things that are not explained in the story, because we know that the Onis in Demon Slayer need to feed on humans to become stronger. The more humans the Oni devours, the stronger it gets, especially with the strongest demons. This can be seen mainly in Akaza, as he thinks he has enormous potential as a demon. He is at a great disadvantage with the other upper moons, because of his rule of not feeding on women, which has the best nutritional values for demons, and that's why Doma rises in the upper moons ranking faster, even though he became a demon after Akaza. This is a rule that applies to all demons including Muzan himself. But with Nezuko it is simply different, and there is no reason in the story for that. Nezuko is extremely strong and she keeps getting stronger, even without consumed not a single human, and that doesn't make any sense with what the story establishes, and the least one could hope for is an explanation for it, and that explanation simply doesn't exist. But the Monio, not everything needs to be explained. Don't you think some things can be interpretive? And I answer yes, but if you establish rules for this world, your story will only be cohesive if these rules are followed, and if there is an exception it needs to be explained, or your narrative simply becomes meaningless, and it is what happens here. It doesn't make sense for Nezuko to survive the sun just because she's the protagonist, and we don't have a plausible justification for that. The demons. The main reason for Muzan to create the Onis is to experiment, in the hope that one of them will survive the sun. Because if that happens, Muzan could absolve that Oni, and he would be immune to the sun, literally becoming immortal, and that's why there are the Onis in the world of Demon Slayer. The problem is that this doesn't make sense. Think with me. First, it is established in the anime that only Muzan can turn humans into Onis. There are few really powerful Onis in Demon Slayer. For example, the upper moons are only 6, but there are many more Onis weak like those that Tanjiro defeats at the beginning of the anime. There are so many that even having so many demon hunters constantly killing them for a few generations, they never end. But how are there so many if only Muzan can't transform humans into Onis? At a certain point it is established in the anime's plot that the upper moons also have the ability to transform humans into Onis, so we can assume that they are the ones who continue to transform humans into Onis, since Muzan spends most of his time disguised in some human family, but to have so many Onis, they would literally have to spend the whole day transforming people, and we know that that doesn't happen either. Moreover, in the anime it is shown that humans transformed into upper moons also become upper moons and not those Onis weak. But the Monio, in fact the power of the Oni is determined by the skill and strength that the human already has. And I tell you that no, Daki was an upper moon that was transformed by another superior moon, and she was not strong when she was a human, even so it became an upper moon capable of killing some Ashiras according to Muzan himself. This problem would be easily solved if the rules for transforming humans were different. For example, if even the weakest Onis can transform humans, as with vampires, it would be a much more believable explanation, since there are many weak Onis, and each one of them transforms more and more humans, and that would explain why there are so many. In addition, following the same vampire system would help create a much more solid system to define the power of each Oni, where the Onis transformed directly by Muzan would be the strongest, and the Onis transformed by them would be a little weaker. And so on, but according to the anime, the weakest Oni do not have the ability to transform humans, because they usually just want to feed on them. The other explanation would be that the Demon Hunter squad is extremely incompetent at doing their job, and that they can't kill the weak demons efficiently, but we know that this is not true either. At the beginning of the anime, even the Tanjiro, who is still an inexperienced rookie, managed to kill several weaker Oni without much difficulty, and even some Oni with special powers were eliminated by him. So what would be the convincing explanation why in this world there are so many weak Oni and they still haven't been eradicated by the squadron after several centuries? Does Muzan have a factory to mass produce weak Onis? But the impression I have, watching the anime and reading the manga, is that all this would be developed, but it wasn't because there wasn't time, and that for some reason the author needed to hurry to finish the story soon, because there's no reason to the final arc being so rushed and leaving so much undeveloped and unexplained. At the beginning of the story, we had the development of even common Onis that Tanjiro faced, but as the story progressed, we had characters that theoretically should be more important and have the least amount of development, such as Gyako, who did not have his past revealed. And I even think it's commendable for a manga that was so successful, not wanting to unnecessarily wind up and lengthen the story, but it's one thing to want to leave the story without winding up, and another is to want to rush things so much that to the point of harming your narrative. What's up, do you agree with me? Do we have a lot of plot holes in Demon Slayer? Do you find the story rushed? Leave it in the comments, and subscribe to follow the next videos. That's it, my people. Until next time, demonic hugs.